Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett
Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today, I've got Dr. Tracy Gapin with me. Tracy, how you doing?
Hey, great. Thanks so much. Good to be with you.
Yeah, good to be with you as well. Calling in from Sarasota, Florida. You guys get that nice weather, probably cooking right there. You can play golf all year long. Just living the dream.
That's right. It's paradise for sure.
Have you always lived in Sarasota?
No, I've been here since 98. Before that, I spent 6 years up in Gainesville doing general surgery and urology training. And before that, I grew up in the Dallas, Texas area.
Okay, very cool. Well, you are, like I said, Dr. Tracy Gapin, leading men's health optimization and longevity expert, the founder of the Gapin Institute for Precision Medicine, and a board-certified urologist for over 25 years. And you are helping and serving high-performing entrepreneurs, athletes, and executives to reach their peak performance through cutting-edge, data-driven strategies. So I look forward to chatting about that. But like I do on every show, Tracy, before we dive into all that stuff, what helped make you the man you are today, do you believe?
Love that question. You know, it's really, I would instantly have to say it's focusing on my why. You know, what is my purpose in life? What's my mission? And when I am laser clear and focused on that, every micro decision I make becomes super easy, right? So for me, my why is being the best dad that I can be. You know, I didn't have a father figure growing up, and I know that really affected my development. And now I am driven to be the most present and engaged and focused dad that I can be to my amazing kids. And so everything I do is centered around that. And you know, when it comes to me, peak performance is being there for my family.
Yep.
And
how old are the kids?
My son is 11. He's a golf prodigy, amazing little buddy of mine. He's like a mini me. And my daughter is 9, and she is complete opposite. She's a little princess, a little diva. She is all into clothes and makeup and slay queen kind of, you know, language that these kids use these days. And very much like my wife. Yeah.
Very good. That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
What's obviously not having the father figure in your world, that's probably an easy explanation, right, of why. And so when you think about that, I'm glad we're starting off here with kids because I think it's important. I've got 4. I've got one in college, 2 in high school, and 1 in grade school in 5th grade. And,
nice.
You know, I think about it, it'd be easy to be the person that's like, I'm just going to only focus on work, right? But, you know, my dad was always there for me in my life and always showed up to games, never picked anything over being at my stuff. And so I've wanted to continue that. And so I think it's cool and unique that here we are, both totally different. I had a great father figure in my life. You did not. What is it about you that didn't want to go down the same road of what you grew up with and made you change that plan, change that trajectory?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I grew up with a very dominant mother. I had no father figure there. So, you know, I didn't have that male role model. I didn't have a dad to play ball with me and to really teach me and guide me. And I know that that's something that I always lacked. And it's interesting. I knew I wanted to be a doctor since I was in 4th grade. Okay. Wow. Very clear, very driven at a very young age. I knew I wanted to be a doctor. Didn't know what kind until later on, until I got into medical school. And I chose to focus on men's health. And I don't think it's an accident that I chose to do urology and focus on men's health because that really is my ultimate passion. And it centers around, you know, helping men be present and engaged for their fathers. And I know that there's some subconscious Freudian stuff happening there that has to do with my childhood and development. But that's become really a centric theme in my life, whether it's my medical practice, my career, my work at home, is to be the best dad that I can be. And then everything else kind of takes care of itself from there.
So how did you know you want to be a doctor that early on?
Yeah, you know, there was a diagram of the heart that they made on the ground out of tape, and we had to walk through the 4 chambers of the heart as blood is flowing through the heart into the lungs. And as I'm doing this, I was just captivated, mesmerized by anatomy and by the functional aspect of how do we develop to have a heart that works like that and blood pumping through our body? And so it was this fascination with the human body and anatomy that got me into it. My mom was a nurse. That probably had some subconscious element there as well. But yeah, I knew at 4th grade, I knew I was going to be a doctor.
That's awesome. So you hear the terms now, you know, peak performance, optimization, all these things, right? Kind of the stuff that's going on in the world. I talk about it as well. When you think about peak performance, can you share we'll dive into the stuff and how you're helping a lot of people, but I'm always curious on the actual person that lives the life that you live and the things that you, but what do you do personally to live at peak performance? Do you mind sharing that?
Oh my gosh. We can spend hours on that, but first of all, I love the question. Let me just define, what does peak performance mean?
That's great. Yep.
A lot of people, they hear that and they instantly think of, an Olympian or a triathlon or this bodybuilding dude or some sort of, athletic stuff. But to me, peak performance can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And to me, it really just means how can you get your mind and body to function at the highest possible level? Okay. And so again, for me, it's being a father, being a husband, being a, leader to my family. But peak performance also means leading a team at work, running a small business, running a big business, running a nonprofit, being a leader in your community, being a leader in your space if you're a thought leader. And so peak performance to me is not necessarily all about athletics, although it certainly has a lot of parallels there. And so I think that's really a key focus that people need to think about, that when we think about health now and this whole MAHA movement, put the politics aside, whether you agree with the guys behind it all or not, that the principles are, how can we quit being passive and reactive and quit waiting for disease or problems to occur and then reactively throw pharmaceuticals at it, and instead focus on how can we prevent chronic disease? How can we improve our health so that we don't need to be on drugs? We don't need to have surgery. We don't need to develop heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure, et cetera. And that requires a very different approach to it, a very intentional, methodical, proactive approach to it. And that's what it's really all about. And so when you ask me what I do, well, I think of it as there are buckets, okay? There are buckets in terms of what do I do for my nutrition? What do I do for my gut health? What do I do for my sleep? What do I do for my stress and mindset? What do I do for my hormones? What do I do for my fitness level? How do I clear toxins from my body? How do I deal with micronutrient levels? You see, there are a lot of different aspects to it. And what a lot of people want to do is just say, well, just take this one magic supplement and this is going to be all you got to do. Or, we do a lot of peptide therapy at Gapin Institute, but I like to think of peptides as these amazing molecules that are the icing on the cake. And when you bake the cake that has all the ingredients I just mentioned, then you can start to look at the sexy stuff that can layer on top of that and to take it to the next level. But the mistake a lot of people are making is, peak performance to them means, well, I'm going to take semaglutide to lose a bunch of weight and then I'm going to be healthy and that's all I need. Well, that's not quite how it works.
Yeah. I apologize if you can hear the loud drilling going on. Is that showing up on the mic? Can you hear it?
Not at all. No, you're good.
All right,
good.
Perfect.
Thanks.
I was like, oh crap. We're 2 days away from finishing our members only speakeasy called Beyond, and it's up here with our podcast studio and our wealth management firm. And
sweet.
so it is extremely loud behind me. So if you see me check out, that's what happened there. So I apologize. I got to adapt. So talk about peptides. So for people like me, I hear those things. I don't really even know what it means. So educate us on that and what that means to our listeners.
Sure. So a protein is made up of building blocks called amino acids. Okay. So a peptide is nothing more than a short sequence of amino acids, a small peptide. So any sequence of amino acids that's under 100 amino acids in length, by definition, is a peptide.
Okay.
And so peptides there are over 7,000 peptides that we're aware of that are naturally occurring peptides that originate in our own bodies. So these are, you can consider them as signaling molecules. These are signals that your body already uses to tell other parts of your body what to do. So, for example, there are peptides that come from the thymus gland, which is a small gland in your neck that is there when you're a baby, but it shrinks and goes away and is gone for the rest of your life. That creates key immune cells that are critical for your immune function and recovery and repair. So your body has this amazing innate ability to heal itself, but sometimes it loses those signals that it needs to do it properly. And so there are peptides that come from the thymus gland that can be, once you can identify the specific sequence of amino acids, you can then synthesize that and recreate that and compound that. So peptides are simply, again, a short chain of amino acids that have a very specific sequence that have a very specific function. So there are peptides that can help with weight loss. You've heard of semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide is the newest one coming out in that category. There are peptides for building muscle. There are peptides for helping with musculoskeletal repair. So, for example, I had recurrent tennis elbow, and there are a couple peptides that were great for helping repair soft tissue around an injury like that. There are peptides for helping heal from surgery, for example. There are peptides that can help with gut health, with inflammation, systemic inflammation from in your gut, or systemic inflammation from infections or toxins. There are peptides that can help with cognitive function and memory and focus, mental acuity. Peptides that can help with mood and depression, anxiety. There are peptides for sexual drive and libido and sexual performance, hair, skin, and nails.
So there's everything.
Almost anything you can imagine. There are peptides that have been identified and sequenced and are now synthesized that can help improve that function. But let me put a limitation here to provide a little bit of context. Let's say you have systemic inflammation in your body, and it's from gut health issues, a very common problem that most people don't even realize. Your gut controls your whole body without you even realizing it. Let's say you have massive gut health issues that originate from things like stress, which we all have, which most of us don't want to admit. Things like alcohol, things like sugar, things like crummy, unprocessed or processed, poorly refined carbohydrate sugars, packaged foods, etc. Toxins in our food and drinking water, toxins in our personal care products. All these chemicals are crushing our gut, causing systemic inflammation. Poor sleep can cause inflammation. So if you're trying to take a peptide that eliminates inflammation, you're not addressing the underlying cause of the inflammation. That's a great example. The peptide is not going to do anything for you. And so that's a big mistake that people think that peptides are the magic pill. There's a guy out there. He's not a doctor, he's not even a medical practitioner. I don't want to name him, but he's out there in Utah, and he's selling people on this $15,000 package that includes 8 peptides. And it's, excuse my language, it's bullshit.
Right.
Because it's the foundation, fundamental stuff you got to do first. You have to bake that cake and then put that icing on top, and you're going to get great results. It's going to help expedite and augment your outcome. Yeah. But peptides have the limitations, as amazing as they are.
Yeah. So that person or whoever is doing that is basically trying to put a Band-Aid on a bigger problem, which is what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, right? The alcohol, all that kind of stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah. It's a shortcut that doesn't end well. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about, like, you talk about your fitness and your gut. Like, what are some of the things that you're consuming? Like that's what I'm like. I take omega-3s, vitamin D, multivitamin, was it DHEA or something like that, because based on my blood work and the stuff that I've done. And so what are the things that, without knowing, obviously, I'm going to make a statement because you are a medical doctor, you are not giving advice on this to the person listening, right? But what is a common thing that you're seeing out there that people could do to better their health, whether that's their gut health, their fitness level, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so let's go through those different buckets I kind of mentioned earlier, and I'll give you some basic bullet points, 30,000-foot view, generic for everybody, understanding that I'm really big on personalization and test, don't guess, and help personalize that. One size fails all is what I like to say. So take all this with a grain of salt, with a big asterisk. Nutrition. I hate the battle that's going on over whether you should do paleo or keto or carnivore or Mediterranean or vegan or whatever. It depends on your genetics. It depends on your gut health, on your testing to know what's right for you. In general, focus on just eating real freaking food. So what I mean by that is eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Organic is worth the money, so definitely organic if you can. Lean meats. If you eat meat, organic, grass-fed meat, wild-caught fish, it does matter, does make a difference. You want to be eating clean, real, whole food. If you do that, that's half the battle. Eliminating the packaged products. If you look at the ingredients of any food you're eating and you don't recognize them or you don't understand them or you're not able to explain them, you can't eat it. If it includes anything that has these inflammatory seed oils like canola, cottonseed, soybean, safflower, sunflower, cottonseed, partially hydrogenated corn oil, those are all pro-inflammatory. And there's a lot of good foods. Like, for example, I was with my wife at Target a year ago. I took a picture of this and I put this on social. You go to Target and I was going to get a bag of almonds. Okay, almonds are in general a great snack. They have good omega-3 fatty acids, the healthy fats, which are good for you. In general, almonds I'm okay with. But this package, you look at the ingredients, and the very first ingredient was partially hydrogenated corn oil and cottonseed oil and salt, and then, oh, by the way, almonds. So it's like it's wrapping poison around a potentially good food. So
but the person's buying it, the average person's buying it thinking, hey, this is a great snack, right? It's healthy. It's what you hear.
That's right.
But yet we're putting all this crap in our body.
Not realizing how harmful it is for you. Exactly.
Yeah.
So another key thing around nutrition is to focus on protein. So what I mean by this is most of us don't eat enough protein, and we need to be focused on eating at least 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So to make that easy, for most guys out there, that means about 150 to 180 grams of protein per day. So focus on 50 to 60 grams of protein per meal. How are you going to get your protein? If you do that alone, that's, again, half the battle. Because when you eat protein, that's putting you into a growth anabolic phase, and you're eliminating the carbs, and it's going to make you full. It's going to give you that satiety. It's going to build muscle, which is going to help you burn fat long term. So protein is the key.
So do you care if I keep interrupting? Is that all right to ask these questions?
Please do. Yeah, of course.
And so, so if I do that, so I weigh 168 pounds, so I need 168 grams, let's call it, of protein, right? And so the myth out there would be, well, if I eat more protein, I'm eating all this stuff, I could gain weight. That what you're saying is that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, great point. So the key, it really comes down to quantity and quality of calories. So there's this battle that, calories don't matter. They do matter. If you're in a calorie surplus, if you're eating 25, let's say, and what we do is we do metabolic rate testing. So with a simple test, you wear a mask for 8 minutes. We can actually measure your metabolic rate to understand that you're burning 1,825 calories a day, let's just say, at rest. And with exercise, you're burning 2,080 calories a day. I'm giving out random numbers, for example. If those are your numbers and you're eating 2,500 calories a day, you're not going to lose weight.
Yeah.
You cannot lose weight because you're in a calorie surplus. You're in an excess energy. You're taking more energy than you're putting out. And so that's the situation where the absolute number of calories matter, but the quality matters as well. So if you're eating good quality calories, so for example, calories coming from a whey protein shake, for example, or a Greek yogurt, or a chicken breast is not the same as the calories from a Twinkie, for example. So the quality matters, right?
Right.
But when you eat all that protein, you're not going to be as hungry. Protein has 4 calories per gram. And so when you eat all that protein, let's say you eat 150 grams of protein, that's 600 calories right there. Yeah. You're not going to be as hungry. You're not going to want to eat 2,000 calories of carbs because you're so full already. And so it helps almost automatically help partition better and help you get to the right caloric, daily intake without you even meaning to. So it's a great kind of hack to instantly lower your intake by just eating more protein.
Yeah.
Hydration is a big key as well. Most people don't drink enough water, and one of the best ways to lose weight literally is to increase your water intake, and you want to be drinking about a gallon of water a day as a good focus. I have my stainless steel water bottle wherever I go, and it's filtered. Be sure you're using reverse osmosis filter. Carbon block filter is great as well. You want to really focus on eliminating the endocrine disruptors, the toxins which are in our tap water, and store it in a metal stainless steel container. But hydration.
Can I interrupt there? So reverse osmosis water. Where does the common person get something like that? Is that a filter you add at your home, or like where do we do that? How do we do that?
Yeah. So we have installed in our entire home one filter for all of our all of our drinking water supply, and it actually replaces missing chemicals as well. So with reverse osmosis, you'll lose some micronutrients that need to be replaced: calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, some other key micronutrients. But in general, you want to be getting a reverse osmosis filter either for your whole house. You can put one under your kitchen sink. You can even have one on the counter as well. So there are all different options available. The one we've used, I have no affiliation at all here, but Kinetico is the brand that we use to install in our home. They make a great product, but there are a lot of other ones out there that you can put under your sink. They're very affordable for anyone to get. Really, really important to filter your water. Our drinking water has synthetic estrogen from women's birth control. So women take synthetic estrogens and progesterones in their birth control. It gets filtered through the water system, and it cannot get filtered out by our treatment plants. So I like to be facetious smartass and say every guy is on the pill, because we're drinking our tap water that is poisoned with these synthetic estrogens that can't get filtered out. It's on you to filter your tap water to get rid of those chemicals.
Okay. What about the filter through our normal filters at home through like our refrigerator? And
it does not clear endocrine disruptors, toxins, especially, we're talking about the phthalate and the organophosphate and the, BPA, which is coming more from plastics, but atrazine is an herbicide that's used in our crops, that's in our drinking water. There are studies that show that we have hundreds of chemicals in our body, and a lot of it's in our tap water.
yeah.
And so by simply filtering it, but the filter you get in your fridge is not going to get rid of those toxins for you at all. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a lot of nutrition stuff. We've been heavy there. Looking at sleep, one of the biggest things I find for high performers, leaders, entrepreneurs is that we sacrifice sleep for the sake of everything else that we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot build muscle if you're sleep deprived. You can't burn fat if you're sleep deprived. Your brain doesn't function the same way. Your energy systems, your metabolism, nothing works the same if you don't have your sleep dialed in just right. And so there are some key hacks when it comes to sleep. Is you cannot sacrifice your sleep. You need at least 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep every night. Going to bed at the exact same time every night consistently is one of the most important things to do. So set it, if you need to wake up at 6, for example, that means you got to be in bed by 10:30.
Yeah.
Like, just count backwards. You have to be in bed by 10:30 to know that you're getting 7.5 hours without question. Then from there, count backwards 2 hours. And for those 2 hours before you go to bed, there are 5 things that I suggest you can do. And they do not include a phone, an iPad, a tablet, a laptop, a computer. Any device is emitting blue light, which is screaming at your brain to stay on, don't go to sleep. Okay, it's messing up melatonin production. It's stimulating your brain, and you're not going to be able to sleep, have the same quality sleep.
Yeah.
5 things are: number 1, read from a real book, not a Kindle, but a paper book. You can do journaling. This is a great time to document your gratitude for the day. What are you thankful for the day? What were your accomplishments for the day? What are your goals for tomorrow? Great time to journal. Meditation, mindfulness. This is the time to spend a few minutes thinking about your gains. What are you grateful for? What are you thankful for? What have you accomplished? And 5 minutes of meditation means just relax and think of nothing. And for those of you who haven't meditated before, there are great apps on your phone. You can use your phone just for this. Yep. Headspace or Calm are a couple great apps out there that you can use. But any kind of guidance, if you need to get started on meditation, is so powerful to calm your mind. That was number 3. Number 4 is sauna. I love sauna before you go to bed. It's amazing for improving mitochondrial function. It's amazing for clearing toxins. It's also great for calming your mind and body for sleep. So I love doing sauna. 15 minutes of sauna before you go to bed is awesome. The 5th one is sex. Nothing calms your mind, gets you better prepared for sleep than sex. And so focus on those 5 things for those 2 hours before you go to bed. No electronics, and it's going to help improve the quality of sleep. Yeah. Dark room, of course. Get rid of electronics. The key thing is you have to be tracking. So what device are you using to track quality of sleep? Because you can sleep 7.5 hours, but if you're not getting the deep sleep and the REM sleep, which are the 2 key restorative stages of sleep, then you're not going to get the same repair and recovery. And so you got to be tracking. Aura is a great device. The Ultra Human has a new ring out, which I like as well. Those are the best devices for tracking sleep. And look at deep sleep and REM sleep. You want 1 hour of deep sleep and 2 hours of REM sleep.
Okay. I wore a Whoop for 4 years. I stopped wearing it because of the amount of information. And I've been debating, going back and forth, debating on going back to it and wearing it again. But it's just basically said, Brett, get more sleep. Don't have the bourbon on Friday night.
And one of the things that really crushes sleep is alcohol. And I'm not here to tell you can't ever drink, but when you track your sleep and you track stress, another metric I love to track is heart rate variability, which is a great way to measure stress levels. You'll see how alcohol crushes your sleep quality. Yes, you may fall asleep, but you get no deep sleep, no REM sleep. It destroys it. And so in general, know that alcohol may sedate you, but doesn't give you good quality. Whoop is great for tracking recovery, athletic performance kind of metric, not really good for sleep. So I love Whoop for a different purpose. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Vitamin intake. I mean, is that obviously you got to again test before we guess, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
But is there the common thing out there that if somebody's listening, they're like, look, I can't
Yes.
afford to go see you at Gapin Institute or whoever.
Yeah.
Is there something they need to be doing?
Yeah, some basic supplementation that I recommend for almost everyone. And yes, you got to test. One size fails all. Number one, everyone needs a good quality micronutrient. Okay, we're talking about a multivitamin here. And most people say, well, multivitamins don't work. I read studies that say they don't work. They don't do anything for you. Well, think of it like an oil change for your car. The best analogy I have here is when you get an oil change for your car, you go in and your car's working fine, right? I'm fine. My sensor told me to get an oil change. So I'm here for an oil change. You leave and you're like, yeah, it's driving the same. What the hell? Like, why did I do that? It's working just fine. That's how I think of multivitamins, as you're giving your body the key micronutrients it needs to function properly so that you don't ever run into trouble. There are a lot of issues with magnesium deficiency, selenium deficiency, vitamin A deficiency, B complex vitamin deficiencies that can cause real problems. You're just trying to avoid all that stuff by giving you the foundational fundamental elements that you need. The key though with multis is don't be buying it on Amazon. Most of it's crap out there. And if you're not taking one that requires about 4 caps a day, typically it's not a good quality one. Doesn't have enough of the ingredients. Like the sense one a day is where it's like a Flintstones vitamin. Those do absolutely nothing. You're not absorbing anything. It's you need to be getting a good quality one. So Thorne, Designs for Health, Zymogen, Metagenetics, Life, a lot of great Douglas Labs, some great products out there. It's worth it to spend a little extra to get a good quality one. That's a multi. Vitamin D. Even here in sunny Sarasota, almost everyone is deficient in vitamin D. Incredibly important for bone health, for immune function, for energy, for metabolism. Vitamin D, I love for most people. Good quality fish oil. It's anti-inflammatory. It helps with cardiovascular health. You need to have an EPA and DHA combination fish oil supplement as well. I love curcumin or turmeric. It's a great herbal, harmless supplement that's been around for thousands of years, and it's incredibly powerful for its anti-inflammatory effect. I love it for everyone. It has incredible benefits when it comes to, again, suppressing and reducing our systemic inflammation. Inflammation, it's clear, is one of the key drivers of the aging process. All right, so I love curcumin or turmeric. I love CoQ. CoQ in the ubiquinol form is a great supplement to help with mitochondrial function. So our mitochondria are the workhorses of the cell. Every cell is trying to produce energy for your body through the mitochondria, and it requires what's called an electron transport chain to produce ATP. Scientific stuff, basically how our body makes energy. It needs CoQ to function properly. And so I love that for almost everyone could benefit from that. Those are the kind of the foundational fundamental things that most people need. I love things like magnesium. Most of us are deficient in magnesium without even realizing it. Magnesium glycinate or threonate are great magnesiums that can hit the brain. I love berberine for blood sugar regulation. It's a natural herbal that's great to help you balance blood sugar. I love that one as well.
So how many of those? That's a lot of stuff, right? So like, how many do you think you take? How many vitamins or pills? Not when I say pills, not medicines, but how many? Like, what are you taking per day personally? Yeah.
My stack varies every week depending on what my goals are, what my testing shows, and where I am in different protocols. But I may take anywhere from 10 to 20 things a day.
Wow.
But it's going to rotate and vary depending on what my needs are. And I want to be clear, I'm different than a lot of guys. So I like to, when I first work with clients, I'm like, there are 3 kind of guys. Which one are you?
Yeah.
One guy is like, doc, give me everything in the kitchen sink. Give me the 10 peptides. Give me the 20 supplements. Give me the 5 hormones. Give me everything I need. I don't care how much it is. I want to do everything. I'm like, great. Let's organize it. Let's give you a spreadsheet. Let's help you keep track of what you're taking and when. And we have these badass pill containers to organize. And that's fine. Some guys are like, doc, give me 3 things. I can't handle more than 3. Give me 3. I don't care what, the best 3 you got, and we'll go from there. And that's fine. And what we do is we prioritize based on what the testing shows you need. And we'll rotate sometimes based on what your core 3 are. Your core 3, what I call that is the top 3 issues that you need fixed today, right now. The most pressing concerns. And so that may rotate. And then most guys are somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, give me some. I'll tell you when it's too much. And that's where you have to kind of what you don't need. And so there's a lot of foundational, fundamental things we can do. And there's a whole lot of stuff we can personalize depending on really your bandwidth, and everyone's so different. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. Talk about creatine.
Love creatine. So creatine has been around. It's one of the most studied supplements on the planet. And actually, it's one of the supplements I should have mentioned earlier that I think almost everyone should be on. Okay. It is great for brain health, and it's great for muscle growth and development. It will not make you this big, huge beast. It will not make you gain a ton of water for most people, as long as you don't take too much. And the dosing of it, depending, for women, it's a little less than men, but anywhere from 3 to 6 grams a day is great. Some people are now pushing take as much as 10 grams. That's a little higher dose than I would typically lean on. Yeah, that's a really a new angle there. I've always been on the 5 to 6 grams and the 3 to 5 grams for women on a daily basis. What I do every morning is after my workout, I do a protein shake, and I'm doing 30 grams of protein in my protein shake. I mentioned earlier about the 150 grams of protein per day. So I'm getting 30 grams of protein in my protein shake. I'm getting some antioxidants with some blueberries in there, and I'm getting 6 grams of creatine in that whey protein shake to start the day. Okay, so I mix it in there. You can mix it in Greek yogurt. I love Greek yogurt. 12 grams of protein per, no sugar in those. So great source of protein as well.
I do my creatine with the element sugar or salt. The element salt and water.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, and when you hydrate a lot, if you sweat a lot, if you're working out to the point that you're sweating quite a bit, a lot of people forget that you need those micronutrients, the elements to replace, especially magnesium, salt, selenium, some other key micronutrients that you lose as well in the urine. But yeah, micronutrients, electrolytes like element are great. Yeah.
Got it. And then what do you see from a fitness standpoint? Again, if people listening to this are like, hey, I need to get better at working out and exercising every day, but I'm not a guy that's going to go to a gym 7 days a week. But clearly we know it's important, right? Everybody listening to this, if you're listening to a podcast, exercise is important. Everybody knows. Yeah. What do you recommend from a high level standpoint that people need to focus on to have that longevity?
I think the biggest issue here comes down to accountability and consistency, where a lot of the guys I work with, entrepreneurs, founders, busy executives, and the last thing they want to do is work out. And unless you're the guy who's going to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out before work, you're going to go to work, you're going to come home at 6:30, you're exhausted, you're going to eat dinner, you're going to collapse on the couch, and your day is done, and you haven't worked out at all. And that's the real problem, is that guys are not prioritizing fitness. And the way I look at it, if you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If you don't schedule time with your kids, it doesn't happen. If you don't schedule time to, one of the things I really focus on with fitness is do things you love. I love to play tennis. It's like I get such joy out of playing tennis, and it's a great, obvious fitness exercise. Actually, a recent study came out 6 months ago that people who play racket sports have improved longevity. Specifically racket sports. Now, why racket sports? Maybe it's because there's a competitive part to it. There's a cognitive part. There's a community social part to it where you're interacting with other people as well. There's a cardio as well as some strength part of it. I don't know, but racket sports apparently are great for longevity. But I schedule time.
Includes pickleball?
Pickleball as well. Yeah, tennis, pickleball, racquetball would fall into that as well. Okay. But it comes down to, at a fundamental level, the first thing is to really be sure that you're just freaking scheduling it in your day. So if you're a morning guy, schedule in your day. First thing when you wake up, you got to work out. Mm-hmm. If you're a later in the day kind of guy, I tend to vary it up. So some days I'll work out in the morning. Other days I'll do it like 4 or 5 o'clock. And I like to, that's me. I like to have some variation each day of the week. And I got to go into work early some days as well. So for my schedule, but I have been very methodical and intentional about scheduling it in my life. And so the take home message here is if you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. Guys know what to do. Why don't we do what we know we're supposed to do? We know we're supposed to work out. We know you got to strength train. Everyone knows you got to lift weights. Everyone knows you got to do some interval training as well. Mix in some zone 2, little, light walking, some aerobic exercise as well. Everyone knows you got to do all this stuff, but a lot of guys don't do it. Why? Right. And it's just being intentional about it. So create a schedule, and it's a non-negotiable in your life.
Yeah. I've had some fun with it. Like in January, I'm probably at the best I've been from a staying active, getting exercise, weights, doing whatever. But it's funny, right? It's like the little check box. So I created the whole month of January, done it for February as well, where it's like, here's what I'm going to do on Monday. Here's what I'm going to do on Tuesday. And you just got to circle in the box, right, with your ink pen and just carry it with you every day. And it's amazing that accountability to myself is like, hey, I'm choosing to not go in and circle in that box, right? And then you feel like I feel like crap when I don't do it. So it's like it's almost like I'm gamifying it with myself and making it and turning it into a habit that way. So
I love the word you just used, gamify and habit. So I love that. I was just going to refer to the book that I love, Tiny Habits.
Okay.
Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. He's a Stanford professor. There's Atomic Habits as well. I personally like Tiny Habits even better than Atomic. They're both really good. But what he talks about is you need an anchor, you need a behavior, and you need a celebration, ABC. And Tiny Habits looks like this. The anchor is what is something you do in your day already that you can use as an anchor, something that is consistent, reliable every day, that has proper context. So for me, it's first thing I do when I get out of bed is I hit the coffee pot. Okay. So for me, what I do is my workout clothes are right there by the coffee maker. So the anchor is when I turn on the coffee maker, I put on my clothes, which are right there. Okay. That's the behavior. That's the win. And then the C is celebrate, where you have to actually reward yourself. This is the gap and the gain concept from Dan Sullivan. I love that book as well, if you've ever read that, where you have to celebrate your wins. And it's a gain. Look how far you've come from 5 minutes ago. I didn't have my clothes on. I have my pajamas on. Now I have my workout. That's a win. Once you do that, of course I'm going to work out now. I have my clothes on. Right. So it's the tiny first baby step that holds you back. Yeah. And so once you do that first step, so that really sets you up for success. And so find the anchor in your daily life that you can use as the foundation for that new behavior. And the tiniest habit, in his book, he talks about every time he pees, he does 2 push-ups. Yeah. 2 push-ups aren't going to do anything for you, but you can't help but do 10 push-ups. Or maybe I'll do 20, but you got to do at least 2. 2 is the tiny habit that you're ingraining in your daily life. And then if you do more than that, that's great, but you're going to always do at least 2.
It's funny. We got a group chat in our family, my wife and 4 kids. You got to send a green check mark every day. Once you get to 50 push-ups, you send it. And now here we are, 6 weeks into this deal. And even all my kids, we're all talking about how much easier it is to do push-ups, right? Yeah. Like sometimes getting to 10, 20, 30, whatever push-ups in one setting may be difficult, but it is amazing just at 50 a day. Yep. How much stronger we've all gotten, and we can just bust them out. It's crazy.
And if you went to a lot of guys and said, okay, I want you to start doing 50 push-ups a day, they do it for a day or 2, and they're like, screw this. I don't know. But by starting small, starting tiny, you're able to work your way up to where now it becomes easy. Yeah. So back to your whole question about fitness, it comes down to accountability, consistency, scheduling it, and start with tiny little habits and build from there.
Yep. We recommended the book Tiny Habits. Are you a big reader? Is that part of your life?
Love reading. Absolutely.
Yeah. Where do you find time? Because again, I recommend this all the time. Journaling, meditation, reading, the biggest 3 game changers I've had in my career of 24 years. And the pushback always, I don't have time. You don't understand, right? We're busy. You're busy. We run lots of businesses. You got to find the time.
Yep. So it comes down to tiny habits. I have a habit that I have to read 10 pages every night. Yeah. And
people are listening to this are going to be like, "This dude, Brett paid this guy." I talk about it every pod. It's 10 pages a day. That's it.
Just read 10 pages. But again, that's the tiny habit where I can't help but read 100, because once I start reading 10, I want to keep going. And so, it's that, again, it's the consistency. It's the intentionality about everything you do in your life, and you schedule it and you attach it to something else. That once I help my wife clean up the kitchen from dinner, when I sit down, that is my time. I know the sitting down is the anchor of the behavior, which is reading those 10 pages. And it may be 100 pages. That's great. And then after that, I have an hour blocked out with nothing but kids. I cannot do any work, not allowed to look at email, not allowed to do any other work, but spend time with my kids. It's scheduled. And that's why it happens, because I'm very intentional about it.
Is there a business thing for you that has been a game changer that maybe, 10 years ago Tracy would not have thought this was possible. And my example for that is, for me, it's email. We have an email process. Robin, my assistant, checks every one of my emails. And then the emails that are handled, she handles. The emails that I have to handle, there's another email address that she sends that to. And it's taken getting 150 emails a day down to the ones that matter, right? The ones we got to get done for our clients. And so do you have a process like that you can share with people?
Yeah, I love talking about the business, the entrepreneur side of it. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so I love this conversation. So the biggest thing for me has been to create clear structure in the company, and SOPs of who does what and what we have an accountability chart, not an org chart, but an accountability chart of who does what. And I'm very intentional about staying in my lane. And if someone came to me with a couple hours ago, they came to me with a clinical question about charting of a patient for the medical practice. And I very quickly deferred to my clinical director. That's her role. That's what she does.
Right.
That's who you need to go to for that. I could have easily spent the time to do it, but that would have pulled me out of my unique ability, my zone of genius. And so it's being very intentional about my time. Our most valuable asset is our time. So I'm very structured in staying true to that and staying in my unique ability from strategic coach from Dan Sullivan, and delegating stuff. And I have another concept called 131. So when someone comes to me in my company with something that is for me, it is a question that I need to answer. The 131 is this: I have one question. I have 3 possible ways to address that problem or question, but here is my one solution for it. What do you think? So instead of saying, hey, Doc, Tracy, what should we do about this? Instead, what it is now is, hey, Doc Tracy, this is the situation. We could do either A, B, or C, and I think we should do B because of this. Now what I've done is I've made them actually use critical thinking skills. They've come up with a solution that may or may not be right, but at least I understand why they came up with that, and I could see their development in critical thinking. And now I can simply say yes or no, and they can go. And so little thing, that 131, and if someone comes to my managers, they do the same thing now. 131 will come back with a 131. So it helps to really organize everybody's time, a lot better efficiency. And then finally, SOPs. There are so many things that we do over and over in our business, and the key is, again, consistency and accountability, and to do it the same way every freaking time. And it's creating SOPs. And so
What's an SOP?
Oh, I'm sorry. Standard operating procedures, protocols, everything we do in the company. So when a new client joins one of our programs, we have a concierge welcome call where my client concierge gets on a Zoom call with them. And that's meticulously designed so that everything that needs to be done is accomplished there. Nothing is missed. It's all done the exact same way every time. And that's how we can grow and scale, because we're not reinventing the wheel. When we lose an employee, new employee, plug and play, they do the same thing. There's no question about what their role is. And so creating protocols, standard operating procedures has been so huge for us as well.
Yeah. What is there a fear that you've had out there? And one of the questions I always ask is how many of the fears you've put in your mind have actually blown up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be. So I would start with that. How many of those have happened?
Oh my God, great question. So I was a urologist for 23 years. Okay, practiced in a very busy group practice, doing robotic surgery every day and seeing as many as 50, 60 patients in the office each day. Very, very busy, high volume, lucrative, doing very well financially as well. But I was miserable. I felt like I wasn't having the impact I wanted to have. And as an entrepreneur at heart, I knew that I was not where I wanted to be. And so for years, I wanted to do what I'm doing now, but the fear was holding me back. And that fear was I couldn't do it. I couldn't build a business. I couldn't start from scratch. I couldn't leave this very lucrative practice I have here and replace that income.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. And would anyone actually pay me cash for healthcare when they have Blue Cross and Aetna and they can use their insurance? Why would they pay me? Well, here we are 6-8 years later, and this goes back to the gap in the gain concept. I can look back and see the gain that I've achieved and how far I've come in the mindset that of course I could do it because I have no choice but to do it. I jumped off that cliff. Of course I'm going to land. My parachute's going to open because I don't have a choice.
That's right.
And so you find a way. When you make it no other option but to succeed, you find a way.
That's right.
And so, so fear was a big issue for me in hindsight that held me back. And now I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. I love that too, because it really comes back to the point where the fear that you had, it actually didn't blow up to the magnitude you put it in your mind to be, right? I mean, you probably thought, man, I could go bankrupt. I'm going to lose my house. Like all the bad negative thoughts, right, that we could have. It's like, holy crap, and it doesn't go there. So I'm always trying to be optimistic for people. It's like, just trust your gut. You're going to get it done. Like you said, there's no plan B. We're going to make it happen. Right. So one of the final questions. So you see this F greater than P here. So this is helping you achieve a future greater than your past. And that is what we do at our firm. And so when you hear that, helping you achieve a future greater than your past, I think that's exactly what you're doing with your institute. And so when you hear those words, what comes to mind for you?
To me, it resonates, be your absolute best again. I always think that, we envision what we were at one point and how we want our mind and body to function and what we want to achieve and the impact we want to achieve. And I really believe that to achieve greatness, to achieve that next level, I believe your health is the foundation of everything. If your mind and body aren't working like it needs to, you're never going to achieve, again, that level of peak performance I was talking about earlier, whatever that may be to you. That your health is the foundation of that. And when you get that dialed in, it makes everything so much easier. Yeah. And so I would recommend to anyone out there who is wanting to reach that next level, start with, I say, find your blind spots. Find what are the health issues that are holding you back, that why is your mind not working like it needs to? Mm-hmm. Why is your body not functioning like it could? Why is your recovery not like it needs to be? Why is your sleep not optimized? And dial all that in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I always talk about your health and your wealth, right? I'm in the wealth management business. You're in the health management business, right? And so if you think about it, I would say, look, if you only focus on your health, you did everything you said to do, but you didn't save money, you didn't plan, you didn't dream, you didn't build your businesses, right? All the things you're going to do, your health is going to go away as you get older because you are so stressed out financially that it pays a toll on your health. But on the flip side, if I have all the money in the world and I don't take any of your advice, what's going to happen? My money's going to start going away because I'm going to either go to a nursing home, I'm going to the doctors all the time, I'm taking tons of medicine, my health is now shot, right? So the two have to go together, focusing on your health and your wealth. And I think that's why I've taken a ton of notes today. I think it's been a great podcast because of that. We're in lock with that. Agree?
Such a strong parallel between the health industry or health world and financial wealth as well. And the two guys I like to emphasize with the point you just made, Paul Allen, founder of Microsoft, $30 billion when he died at the young age of 65. He had lymphoma, diagnosed 56, died at 65. Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, obviously, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, age 48, died at 56. Those guys had all the money in the world. Yep. What good was it if they couldn't buy one more day?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Where do our listeners find more of you, Tracy?
Thanks so much. So GapinInstitute.com, that's GAPIN Institute.com. And I have a page. If you'll go to GapinInstitute.com/launch, that's LAUNCH as in peak launch. I have a copy of my Ultimate Peptide Guide, which goes into a lot more detail about some of the peptides that we talked about today and others. I have a High Performance Health Handbook. I have a best-selling book, Mel 2.0. I have a complimentary care. I have a copy of a Peak Launch Masterclass. I give a TED Talk. You can get a copy of TED Talk there as well. All these gifts for your listener. Just download them. All complimentary is my gift to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. We will put this all in the show notes as well. It's been awesome having you. I've really taken a ton away from this and appreciate your energy and what you're doing to impact the world, man.
You got it.